What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Game Time Discussions. I'm Emery Cuzzy. I'm here with Cameron Selby, and super excited to get back and talk about some fantasy football rankings. I've been doing a lot of college. I have not been hanging out with Cam as much on the extra videos we've been doing, other than best ball. Of course, we do that every Thursday. But get a chance to do that today. We're going to talk about the quarterbacks and the running backs, a fun group to talk about, and things have changed since our first ranking. If you hadn't watched that one yet, this is going to be our final ranking, I believe. So
and we might debrief over our final rankings 150 if we had the time. We're kind of sore on time. We've got a lot of stuff going on, but it's good to be back in a 1v1 setting, and we're going to be starting more prediction videos and stuff like that. So we're excited to get going. So let's get right into it. Tier 1 of the quarterbacks, zero change. That is one of the main no changes of this video. Essentially, the four up top are the four that matter, and it's based on, hey, do they fall to you at a discount, or do you got to spend up for them? Everybody has them in this exact order, and we're no different.
Yeah.
If the Terry news of the will he be traded, won't he be traded, if they trade him away and he's not, it's just Debo and Luke McCaffrey and Noah Brown, I might put Jalen above. I might flirt with that decision, but it doesn't drop him a full tier below in my eyes. And maybe that puts another person that is in the tier 2 closer, but he's still a fine fantasy asset just based on cost.
Yeah, absolutely. When we're talking about this kind of stuff, it's like Jaden is more expensive. He's, possibly a whole round ahead. So it's one of those things where right now I'm probably not going to get any shares of him in the third, fourth round. But if you're just talking about like who I have think who has more upside, it's Jaden, in my opinion. I think with Hurts, he just gets, kind of pushed down because you have Saquon, you have AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. Of course, he has to get the ball to those guys, but
you have to make that
so much
decision
talent
really early if you're doing stackable things, whether it's best ball or redraft. I mean, first 5 rounds, basically all the important ones for Philly are going. With Washington, is basically Debo is flirting with the 6th, 7th round,
right.
But obviously will go up if there is any kind of change. Terry's already there at price, basically where we have him. But Baltimore and Buffalo are a little different.
Yeah.
Obviously, Zay Flowers is kind of right in the middle of a crowded tier of wide receiver 2s and 3s, but everybody else is pretty cheap past the 10th round, outside of Derrick Henry, of course. And then Josh Allen, Khalil Shakir went down with an injury. It sounds like he's going to be ready week 1, but that just means every single pass catcher for Buffalo is outside the top 90, outside of James Cook, who is currently holding in right now.
Holding in, yeah.
Basically, it's way easier to click them and then stack later rather than with Hurts or somewhat Jaden Daniels. You have to make those decisions earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to the next tier, though. It's a pretty short tier. It's only 2 guys. This is kind of the break, in my opinion. So if you look at like these top 6 guys, I think there's a bigger fall off and a much more uncomfortability after this tier. So I really want to talk about Joe Burrow. Obviously, when you talk about Joe Burrow, it comes down to they paid both of their receivers the most money the 2 receivers are making in the NFL right now, in T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. That is kind of the vocal point, obviously. Chase Brown is a receiving back. They're going to throw the ball a ton. They're going to be trying to figure out what Trey Hendrickson's going to do, so they might be throwing the ball from behind a ton. So it just kind of makes a lot of sense to get him if you want to get the best pure passer in the league. Everybody above him has rushing upside. Joe Burrow is the first one to have just like straight passing, but he can throw for 400 yards.
Yeah, it's pretty... Honestly, if you wanted to just say, hey, this tier shouldn't be there, you should separate these guys or put them up or down, I completely agree and understand in that argument. But Joe obviously was a top-end quarterback last year, led the league in passing. And we know because the defense did not improve that they're going to need to be scoring 30 to win games. And maybe they'll have the ball bounce to the right side, make a couple more field goals to get back into the postseason. But either way, success only happens with offensive production, and that just means that Joe Burrow is having a fantastic year. If they're not having a great year, it's probably because Joe got hurt once again or something of that nature. I don't see a healthy Joe Burrow not holding value as a top 6 quarterback. The problem is that it's way different ADPs everywhere you look, and so he is everybody's QB5, but ESPN and Yahoo, he's going in the 6th round, but then he's going in the 4th round on DraftKings.
Right.
And Underdog, he's going in the 5th. So it's just price for me. Mahomes, he's in this tier because his price is so discounted, and I still think he's capable of it. I mean, everybody's projecting Kansas City to be a wild card team this year. You're not going to be 11-6, 10-7 team and not be having to throw it way more than when they were a 15-1 team going
Right.
into the final week, where they were just hanging on but playing from ahead the whole time, plus having the receiver injuries he had. So a lot more weapons. And if there are trailing circumstances, maybe we do see a little bit of a return that we've seen previously with Mahomes when he had the Tyreek era and he was a consistent top 5 quarterback every week.
I think both of these guys, if their teams are performing and you expect them to do well, their teams to do well, these are the guys that are going to, they're going to play well also. These two guys have to play well for their teams to do well because, like you said, with the Chiefs, his supporting cast is down. While with Joe Burrow, of course, his supporting cast is he got the number 1 overall pick in most drafts. So it's just one of those things. If I had to pick which way I would go, because you said if you didn't want to have this tier, these guys would go up, in my opinion, not down, because I think that there is a break. And we'll pull it up now.
Right. I think it's more so if a price matters to you, or are you just purely ranking guys? If you're purely ranking guys, maybe Mahomes probably deserves to be in the next tier because of a couple year sample size of just being hovering around 18 to 20, which that is a tier 2, tier 3 quarterback, whereas Joe is, when healthy, a tier 1 quarterback. But cost is way different.
Mm-hmm.
3 rounds different between the guys, and you have to take that into account when ranking guys.
Yeah, and then if you look at this next tier, I wouldn't put Patrick Mahomes in the same tier as Justin Fields, basically, and that's where we're at right here. So that's my biggest point of that is like, if you think that a tier is a tier where anybody could shift to 7 and anybody could shift to 14, Patrick Mahomes isn't in that group. But talking about this tier, there's some rushing upside. There's some young guys that are going to jumping into year 2. And I think that the guy that I want to talk about the most is a guy that I think is kind of going under the radar, funny enough. Kyler Murray is now almost in the 9th round on DraftKings. So by price, I mean, that is a really good value in my personal opinion. But there's a lot of quarterbacks from like that 87 to like 110. We have him at 7 or 8th here. I think that he is a really big contributor on if they're going to play well, if Arizona's going to be good, and Marvin Harrison's going to have a good year, and you think these things, Trey McBride's going to have a good year, it's through Kyler Murray. So
yeah, and with this tier, everybody in this tier that you're seeing was in it the previous time. There is a little bit of moving around. Plus, there's 2 additions. We bumped up Justin Herbert. I think Keenan Allen coming back. That doesn't make him just it just makes me more comfortable not having to just have Quinn Johnston, a tight end by committee, and then Ladd McConkey as your passing weapons, and an already kind of capped upside because of the lack of volume that he usually has. But he basically has a very formidable foursome of receivers, great running back, and I think he deserves to at least be in this tier. Justin Fields moved down a couple of spots. It's more so, one, he's not apparently having great practices recently. And all he has is Garrett Wilson. Mason Taylor is now out for a few weeks due to an injury. He had a high ankle sprain, and that was a rookie tight end that we liked a lot. That it's just one less pass catcher. So it's Breece Hall out of the backfield, and it's Garrett Wilson. That's it. His implied pass total is about 2,600 yards. Not really ideal. Way, way lower compared to everybody else in this group. So he did drop a couple just because of the fact, I think from a redraft perspective, a standard 12-team league, right? We're looking at guys that essentially, if you had to only pick one quarterback to start, what point does that in where I probably need 2 quarterbacks? I think Dak might be my last guy that I would be like, okay, 1 quarterback, I'm fine with it, just so I don't have to make start-sit decisions. Obviously, if you have 2 quarterback league or a bigger bench, you can afford that. But when we play with smaller benches or a standard 5 or 6 bench, I'd prefer to just have 1 quarterback, 1 tight end.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's it. And just give more positions to wide receiver, running back. Purdy, I understand the upside, but then the injuries are starting to happen with everybody except for CMC and an aging George Kittle. So it's a little bit concerning there. Justin Fields, lack of options. Also injured toe, also not practicing well. So a lot of different things. Bo Nix, to me, is the biggest polarizing name in this entire list. It might be Caleb just because we have him ranked higher.
Sure.
But Bo Nix, I think, is this could be a CJ Stroud-esque like do we are we overvaluing his rookie year? Because was that his ceiling, or does he have more in store? Because they did add Pat Bryant, an inefficient Evan Ingram, some names to the running back room, but it's not like I'm just confident he's just going to take another leap and be a 40 touchdown give or take guy.
Sure.
But he deserves to be in the tier nonetheless. All of these guys are right in this range, and actually Baker did jump Kyler, but that was mainly because we did take price into account before he was going in the 6th round.
Yeah.
Now he's fallen 2 rounds later, so he is right in the range of Kyler, and I do prefer. Well, I don't even know if I do prefer, but I will say his fantasy postseason.
Yes, he is
schedule,
one of the best postseason schedules. Yes.
Again, you've got Atlanta at Carolina at Miami. That is the gold mine
Mm-hmm.
of a spot. And with Tampa Bay receivers, because it is such a committee, I'm not sure who are the 2 that are going to most prosper. Emeka Ibuka having a hell of a camp. Chris Godwin now injured. We've kind of put him below Emeka at this point in our rankings. That's a little bit of a spoiler. But then Mike Evans, he has started to age. Injury with his hamstring last year.
Right.
So I don't know who he's going to be throwing to, but I just know Baker is set up really well in those games that matter at the very end, especially Atlanta and Carolina, who could be 4 division winner kind of games, that he will have great game environments to have really great production for your team.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I think the most polarizing is, of course, Bo Nix. I think how you view him is super interesting to me because I think, and we've talked about this before, you bet on sophomore receivers and you don't bet on sophomore quarterbacks, right?
Right.
And we're kind of betting on 2 of them here, putting them over guys like Dak, who's had up and down seasons, even top 5 seasons in his career. So it's a very interesting thing. But I'm ready to go on to the next one. And then going over to tier 4, we have Drake May starting it off. And I think he's the biggest name that we're going to talk about. Another sophomore coming into his own. And JJ McCarthy's also a sophomore here. He is going to be playing his first games without Jordan Addison, who has a 3-game suspension. TJ Hawkinson is now injured. So I don't know what his full length of time will be. And then you have Justin Jefferson, of course. So you have that option.
Right. Yeah. And with it's very interesting with this tier because there's some guys where it just doesn't feel like they deserve to be this low.
Right.
And then some guys, it's a little concerning of, I don't know if they deserve to be this high. I mean, namely JJ McCarthy, because we just don't know, but he has all the weapons to succeed. Sam Darnold was a fantasy QB1 last year. So, and on top of that, JJ has rushing upside as well. So he's not a guy that we're getting to, but I think he deserves to be in there just because of the situation he's in. Jordan Love, if he is healthy this year, deserves to he deserves to be in mentions of a bounce back candidate because he just has a plethora of guys. It's very tough and touchy to stack because I don't know who the wide receiver ones are and if there can be consistent receiving options out of that offense, because it's more so about efficiency than it is about high volume for those guys. But Drake May, we're really, really high on this year. He almost, if it weren't for the tier being so big, and we just kind of got to condense it down a little bit, he's having a great camp. He's finally got receiving options. We like the receiving options. We actually know who they're going to be, and it's a way better system with Josh McDaniels now. Trevor Lawrence adding Travis Hunter to Ryan Thomas Jr., just a lethal duo that can be both 1,000 plus yard receivers, and he can have a true bounce back year after a couple of down years of injury. CJ Stroud, they can't run the football because it's a bad offensive line. Their running backs hurt. All it is Nico Collins and a bunch of rookie receivers, and even Cade Stover now apparently. So I feel like if Houston will be succeeding or scoring points, it's going to be more so from their passing game. Jared Goff, I feel like it'll be a step back for him and Detroit as an offense, but all the weapons are still there.
Mm-hmm.
So he should still be a QB2 discussion, and all of these guys, fantastic QB2s for your, super flex leagues.
I think the thing with like Drake May and CJ Stroud, you mentioned the offensive line, and I want to point out both of them had terrible offensive lines last year. One of them actually went and tried to fix it. Now we have, if you look at the New England Patriots, they added 2 offensive linemen, and both of them are going to start from the draft. Will Campbell's going to be starting. Jared Wilson took over the, I believe, left guard spot. So, and he's had a great camp. He has been the best player at camp, is what most people are saying for New England. So, at least that's good. I think it's a really hard tier to just be like, I won't, like you said earlier with Dak and like how it breaks. I don't think you're going to pick any of these guys as your QB1, or if you do, you're in trouble, because I don't know at any week that I'd be like super comfortable with them starting.
We're getting all of them in best ball,
Yeah,
except for Jared Goff, because he's priced up as a QB1.
Right.
That is the only difference. Everybody else is kind of right around the 12th to 14th round, and we're just hammering as a QB2 or even QB3 because we've been tackling a lot of mid-round quarterbacks. But we love stackable options. We love just at cost. But basically, if just the gap between 7 and 20 is so much thinner than you would think for a fantasy quarterback. And we haven't really seen that in years past, because it's just been, the elite guys at the top, and then just you kind of a big drop off. But really this year, I just see it as all of these guys have a chance to be a top 8 quarterback. And it just depends on situation, health, and circumstance based on where this team is headed.
And I think that has a little bit to do, and before we go on, that has to do with how great the draft class was last year. You have JJ on here, you have Drake May on here, you have Caleb Williams on here, you have Bo Nix, and you have Jaden Daniels. And we're going to go to tier 5 here now, please. Michael Penix is on tier 5. So you have all of the, first round players that came out of the class a couple years ago, two drafts ago, that are on this board. And that has a lot to do why it's starting to condense. Is like, these guys are good. They're moving into that upper echelon. But also, if you look at the upper echelon, they're not older players. Like, they're going to be there for a while also. Guy I want to talk about on this group is Matthew Stafford, because of the injury and things like that. Just kind of getting over, like, he is old. I didn't realize how old he was. I had to look it up the other day, and I was very surprised. He's been in the league for like 17 years.
Yep.
So Matthew Stafford, being the quarterback for the Rams, them not getting a quarterback in the draft, I'm a little nervous with that team, because I like that team a lot. But if he doesn't go, it doesn't go.
Well, yeah, and honestly, even Devontae coming in, like, that should be a huge help. But at the same time, it's been the Puka Nacua show. Either way, Stafford for the last few years has not been a QB1 for fantasy purposes.
Right.
He's been a good quarterback, and he's had good postseason success, but that's not going to win you fantasy championships. And so that's why we have him as lows. Obviously, he's still a top 10 quarterback, but no rushing upside. And it has everything to do with, can he give you 2 to 3 touchdowns a game? And half the season, a lot of times it's just one, and they really ride Kyron Williams, who was recently extended. So it's just kind of one of those things that they're not really a run and shoot offense that's going to try to drop 30. They don't have to be that anymore.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of limited with what he can do. Bryce Young actually finished over the last 7 weeks of the season as QB6 last year, and he has improved weapons, and he's been looking good in camp. So he is one of my favorite names that I just haven't gotten any of, because I truly see a path of him with the fourth place schedule, just having a hell of a year. But I still got to wait and see, because you just don't know. It's a lot of young guys.
And we talked about it a little bit. Who are you targeting as a receiver with them, is because they just have so many mouths to feed. And I do believe that they're probably going to have all these guys on the field, at least for the first couple weeks, trying to figure out what they're going to do. You have Jalen Coker and Hunter Renfrow, Xavier Legette, Adam Thielen, Tet, and Jatavian Sanders. Like, there's just too many mouths, and it's really hard, is why trying to get stackable options in best ball. It's like picking which ones.
All cheap. And honestly, this is a point where all these guys are probably going to be on your waiver wire in your redraft leagues. Geno Smith has been a very successful quarterback, and on top of that, has an honestly underrated amount of weapons.
Yeah.
I mean, Nash and GT is as advertised in camp right now. Brock Bowers is tight end 1 for a reason. Jacoby Myers, we've talked about so time and time again how slept on he is as a flex player in fantasy leagues right now. And then Dante Thornton is having a hell of a camp, and is actually passing up Jack Besh, who everybody was high on. So if Jack Besh is actually what people think he will be, well, that's 3 options. And then Trey Tucker.
Sure.
And then you got Michael Mayer, who missed some of the time last year, but is still a really good tight end as a tight end 2.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of fun with that. Again, no rushing upside, so it's a little bit limited, but we still like him. Tua is a injury concern, because he's probably one concussion away from
never playing.
Retirement.
Yeah, never playing again.
On top of that, a lot of people are pumping out Miami players, and I don't think anybody's brought up the fact that I think it's on the board of them starting 1-5 and then firing Mike McDaniel, and then it is completely unknown, even if he is healthy.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the weird vibes with Tyreek Hill.
I was gonna say Tyreek
He's
will be
had-
gone if that
He's
happens.
he might not even get to that point.
Sure.
Just because I mean we the infamous, just get me out of here right after the end of the season last year. There's been awkward comments in the media, and then now he's missing practice due to undisclosed injuries.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels weird.
Sure.
And on top of that, on top of the concern of Tua, like I said, I really think Miami Daniels on razor thin margins. And let me pull up their first couple of games, because, like I said, it is on the board that
It's a
they
tough
start
schedule,
off
yeah.
at Indy versus New England, which they might be favored or they have a shot in, but I wouldn't be surprised if they lose both of those
Right.
games. At Buffalo versus the Jets, at Carolina, Chargers, at Cleveland, at Atlanta. Obviously on paper, oh yeah, they can start out 500, but at the same time, they're getting further and further away from the top, while they got passed up by New England, and they're really fighting that with the Jets for the bottom of that division. And their defense is so bad that they might be on the wrong side of some of those games, which will put them in trouble. And I think there's too much unknown for me to love that situation.
Yeah, the injuries on defense, the inconsistencies on defense. They did bring a lot of people in on their defensive line, but it's like they
Lost
could
every secondary member.
we're of course we're giving a little bit of, we're going to talk about the full season predictions and stuff, but like kind of giving a little insight. It's like that team is in shambles right now, and to pick them up, they're going to need vets and people to come in. Well, right now their left tackle and their left guard are both first and second year guys. And then defensively, you just look at their edge rushers position. That's their big position. Well, they've had injuries at that position every year. So staying healthy, of course, Tua, you got to stay healthy. But also all their other guys have to stay healthy, because they are so razor thin in the secondary already.
The line, Jonnu Smith, who was a possible league-winning tight end last year,
gone.
not there, and now everybody was pumping up Darren Waller
he hasn't practiced. He has not even practiced.
He hasn't practiced.
Yeah.
I didn't buy that for a second, and we haven't had a single share of him.
No way.
And obviously now he's going down because he's not practicing. Yeah, maybe retiring and already being bad
and rapping
is just not a situation that you want to invest.
He should have just retired a Raider and been done.
Right.
But yeah, so this is our top 25 for our quarterbacks. We're going to go over to running backs next. We're going to do both of those in this video. We're going to start it off at the top. It's pretty cut and dry. We actually have, if we just want to like nitpick, Jahmyr Gibbs, we talked about him on our last show. If you didn't watch it, we have him at 5 because of the fact that they lost their offensive coordinator. And now it's like, they're revamping their whole coaching staff. First off, there's not bad vibes. I think they've actually got fine vibes. It's just, can Jahmyr Gibbs repeat what he did and be as efficient as he was as last year? And if David Montgomery doesn't go down, is he capped? And that's my biggest question with this thing, is like, because he doesn't necessarily have the touchdown equity if David Montgomery is playing every game this year.
Right. I mean, he's the only guy in this tier that doesn't have an extreme amount of talent around him that will limit his ceiling. Like even Saquon, in spite of him having 2 really good receivers, and a tush-push quarterback.
Yeah, that's so annoying.
Obviously, by far, running away with the number 1 running back last year. Bijan, Drake London's good. Maybe Kyle Pitts bounces back. It doesn't matter. Bijan will get all the touches and pass catch work. He's just bar none. I'm actually surprised that so many people have anointed him as RB1. I flirted with that, but I don't want to be following the grain. I wanted to be early on that. I didn't expect that trend to happen. Is what it is. We are higher on Christian McCaffrey because he's the only healthy running back for
only healthy player.
Isaac Guerrero,
only healthy player.
Isaac Guerrero went down, was going to miss multiple weeks, and then we were like, okay, Jordan James, that's the perfect opportunity. He broke his finger or whatever he did.
He's going to
weeks, and so he's by himself, and everybody is concerned about his injuries. All of them soft tissue, none required surgery, and it is a full 9 months since his last injury. So I am good to go with investing in him.
But don't forget, Jawan Jennings injured. I'm sorry, Jawan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk is injured. Both of them. Pearsall had an injury, but he's practicing, so we're not worried about him as much. But there's no one.
But again, getting long story less long. Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, first round caliber pick. Jameson Williams, I know he's
top 5,
guy,
top 6 rounders.
Putting him into the 4th round. Sam Laporte is a tight end 4. and David Montgomery's back. He's at RB2 still as in terms of ADP. And it's just like, I can't just also invest in that. All of them are going to hit their ADP. Somebody is not going to work out, even if everybody's healthy. And I just have a feeling that Jameer, like you said, is a little bit capped unless David Montgomery goes down, because he was phenomenal last year without David Montgomery.
Yeah.
But he was just really, really good when he was there.
Yeah.
And even if he does take a little bit more touches away, 3 new offensive linemen, all interior, they are actually struggling apparently in camp right now with their offense. And so I like him. He's in this tier 1, but everybody's put him as a consensus RB3. And I just would rather at cost go with CMC or GNT to start my team.
I've heard people say he's the league winner, and that I'm just like, that's
to me,
hard.
That's
hard
because like tier 1 guy
is not a league winner. Yeah, exactly.
You can vault somebody who's not in most people's tier 1, like we said with Nico Collins, into a tier 1, or say that he can have a tier 1 year.
Right.
But if he's already in tier 1, everybody has him in tier 1. You can't say, oh yeah, draft Saquon. Okay. Sure.
Cool.
I mean, as long as he doesn't get hurt, he's going to work out. All of these guys, as long as they don't get hurt, they will be a RB1 for you.
Right. Absolutely. Ashton Genty, shout out, the Raiders. We did it. If we're gonna pick a guy, and I don't like picking running backs that early, but if we're gonna pick a guy that early, at least let it be the guy that I really liked early and expect to do great things in the league.
Either way, we knew the situation of Pete Carroll wanting to run the football, Chip Kelly, knowing the system and success he has from a fantasy perspective with running backs in previous years, and a lot of the guys, even though you were nervous about taking GNT 6th.
I just don't like taking running backs early.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, if Travion Henderson went because of the camp he had and how much we liked him, if they waited and then took him in the second round, he would be borderline tier 2 running back.
Yeah.
Because it would be him and nobody else. So he has all the workload. He will get 300 plus touches, is healthy. And on top of that, he is a sneaky good, possibly even great pass catcher out of the back.
No, he's a great pass catcher.
He just didn't show that in the senior year. It's not because he couldn't. It's because they were ahead by so much. And on top of that, I'm trying to break Barry's record.
500 yards.
You're not going to beat a rushing record catching the football.
Yeah, he had 500 plus yards his junior year. It is what it is. But let's go to tier 2. All right. So the big guys to talk about for me, obviously Achan's up here, and he scares the hell out of me because he is on that Miami team that we just talked about. I also want to shout out Omarion Hampton because he's got to be the biggest conversation. Is like we already had him high. I don't know why you didn't put him higher, honestly. And I couldn't fight you because I understand it.
Well, because the biggest point is I just wanted to say that I'm happy that we were early on that.
Yeah.
And obviously we didn't expect, Najee blew his eyeball off and he's going to miss time. But now he's in everybody's tier 2. And Matthew Berry, if you are fantasy familiar, you know that he has his guy.
Yeah, every year. Mm-hmm.
That's his guy this year.
I know it is.
And he has such a success rate with just saying, this is my guy. And he picked Omarion Hampton. He could have picked anybody. And he went with Omarion Hampton. And it made me feel even better about where he was. We were here early. We didn't move him up at all from our 1.0. But it's just kind of like we took a stand on him, and we were just right in terms of ADP, at least right now. And it sounds like he's killing it in camp. And
he's good at football. He's good at football.
He's already jumped into the top 30 in best ball.
Sure.
And we kind of probably missed the ability to get over 20% of him, but it is what it is. We really like him. Kyron Williams, newly extended Jarquez Hunter, doesn't matter. Blake Corum, doesn't matter. He's in this tier. He's one of the safest running backs. Chase Brown, very interesting name because he is shooting up draft boards right now. I'm seeing him picked in the top 20 now in best ball.
No, I've seen him. I saw him go 16 yesterday.
Yeah, and he's going a full round past that in redraft leagues, but it's just another injury with Zach Moss went down and they cut him. And so it's him, 6th round rookie Taj Brooks. That's it. And he was already a RB1 last year at the very end of the season, getting 6 to 8 targets with the receiving options that he has in that offense. So very fun PPR guy. I don't know how to view him compared to others in a half PPR setting, but very much on the board of him being a target leader as a running back this year. And the upside is definitely there. Like we said, we like Cincinnati's offense, and if they're going to be a top 5 scoring offense, he's going to be a large part of that.
Yeah, for sure. And then, like we said, Achan, I'm nervous about him. Very explosive guy, but I think Tyreek's comment of we have goal line backs was pretty funny
Yeah.
because we all think it. It's not just like it's not like Tyreek made
just
some
one-
like monumental like thought process there. It's
or
like,
said something stupid.
yeah,
It's just don't say it.
don't say
Just
it.
Don't say it.
Don't say
You're
it. But
right.
you're absolutely right. I hope they do give the ball to those guys later because they give them a better chance of scoring. Derrick Henry being at 6, we were wrong on him last year. I have very little Derrick Henry in best ball. I'm probably not going to draft him very much, but he scares me
He's
to
kind
say
of
the
fallen
least.
into my lap at the 1-2 turn if all of the receivers are gone before it and Gene T or CMC didn't fall to me,
Mhm.
just because I don't want to have a ton of drafts where I go 3 receivers early, reaching on guys that I don't necessarily want. So I'd rather have a dominant running back
Right.
and then go 4 receivers or something like that. So I've fallen into him a little bit. It's just one of those things where if he is healthy, he is going to fall into 1,500 yards and 15 plus touchdowns.
Yep.
And so he is by far and away the highest touchdown prop for running backs, and he has to be this high for that very reason. But at the same time, he was about 50% of the snap share in terms of important touches, especially 2-minute drill. Justice Hill was out snapping him in some games and having success. Now, I think it's Keaton Mitchell, who's even more explosive. He actually had a touchdown in preseason before we even shot this video. But it's one of those things where he is one of the safest guys that you can think of. But how high is the upside for another year on and another several 100 miles on those legs?
Sure, absolutely. Let's go over to the next tier, tier 3. Some guys have been moved around. A lot of the same players in this tier. We don't need to hit on every one of them, but some guys that obviously there's a rookie in this one, so that's always interesting with Travion Henderson. I also think we should talk about Kenneth Walker moving all the way up to the front of the tier.
Yeah, with Kenneth, it's just, and it did make me a little nervous because he missed a couple of days of practice with foot soreness. But his MO has been injuries.
Mm-hmm.
But last year, he came into being a true RB1 when healthy.
Yeah.
But the thing is, each of the last 3 years, he's missed 3 to 4 games with an injury. So it is a contract year. But Clint Kubiak, I think he is there's not many more running backs that you can ask for his talents.
Yeah.
And I just think it's going to be a big year. Even when Zach Charbonnet, like I said, went off, as soon as Kenneth Walker came back, they were just like, you're not even getting 5 touches. So it's his backfield to lose. And I've seen a lot of people saying that the sleeper is Zach Charbonnet. No, it's not, unless he goes down with an injury or you don't trust him. But if you are just saying everybody's healthy, because all of these guys can tear ACLs or pull hammies or strain Achilles or all that stuff. But if everybody is healthy and injuries are turned off, and we have to assume that in fantasy, I just really like my chances with Kenneth Walker at price right now. He's my favorite RB2 to draft. And I think he even warrants some RB1. He has the RB1 upside just like these other guys, and he makes me less nervous than some of these other guys because of the options or situations that they're in.
Yeah, I think another guy that's kind of like that, just like floor, if you're talking about floor, is Chuba Hubbard. Exactly. He's a floor guy to me. The ones that are scary, there are some scary ones on here, don't get me wrong. Breece Hall in that weird offense that he's in, can he get the receptions? James Cook, who's holding out, that's not good.
But
Alvin Kamara, like he's old. Like there's a lot more question marks in this tier than there was in the tier above, for sure.
Basically, there's question marks everywhere except for at 13 and 16. Well, I mean, 13 is purely an injury question.
Yeah.
16, Chuba is the safest guy. He's smack dab in the middle. He had 17 points a game on a bad team last year, and they didn't add anything enough to make me worried about him taking a step back. They extended him also. So I'm very comfortable with him. I would say that I'm even comfortable with him going higher, but I mean, to each of their own. Bucky Irving, I don't know what to do with him, but
sure.
He's in the second round right now, and I just think it's they gave him the ball or 7 targets a game, and at the end he kind of caught fire while Rachaad White kind of fell out of favor. He has volume, but I think he's the least talented running back, or second least talent, or I mean, depending on what you view DeAndre Swift. In terms of a pure talent, I think he is one of the worst of this tier.
Sure.
But
yeah, I get that.
On top of that, Tristan Wirf's going to miss time to start the year, maybe 6 weeks. So I just don't know if he's going to do any. And on top of that, Emeka Egbuka there, we can't just assume he's just going to inherit 9 targets a game when Mike Evans, Chris Godwin missed time. and then it was just Jalen McMillan, some Cade Otton weeks. Like, there's more passing weapons now, and they've never been a high volume, we're going to run the ball 30 times a game kind of team. So it's just one of those weird ones. I get it. He's one of our biggest differentials negatively, but I understand why if you don't really view him as this low.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that.
Brees Hall, it's a pure pass catching role to me, because I really think that Braylon Allen is going to cut into where it is a true 50-50 split, or maybe there's a possibility that he inherits a little bit of goal line work as well. So I think his upside is a little bit more limited than people think. And then a lot of other things, is it lightning in the bottle? Is it age? With all these guys, even DeAndre Swift, probably too high, but it's situation for us and is just what it is. Travion Henderson have a hell of a camp right now, and that's why he is one of the only rookies that has kind of jumped as far as he has, because as he looks really good, and Ramondre just looks like he's fixing his issues.
Yeah, I think the Ramondre thing is interesting. I think Travion Henderson was obviously really good, and we knew that. We had him as our third RB coming out of the class, and then he went to a team that had a perfect situational spot for him. Let's go over to tier 4. And in tier 4, we had that, we had the David Montgomery conversation already a little bit, but there's another set of there's a rookie in this class, in this one. And then I think Joe Mixon's interesting. I'm not out on drafting Joe Mixon.
No,
and
anymore,
he's
especially
25th here though. And he was 17th, I want to say, on the first one or something like that, in that range. He's in tier 3 range. It's just, I think if he plays, there's just value, because you look at it, Nick Chubb is, he's older, he's had injuries. It's that breaking point year for him, basically. And you said, and Jahar Jordan is playing a good amount, because he's 27. And I actually liked him coming out before I saw his age.
Yeah.
And I texted you, I was like, I think this guy's pretty good. And then I saw his age, and I was like, holy crap.
No, but I mean, with him, I was out on him as RB2, but I'm way in on him as RB3.
Right.
And especially in redraft leagues, if he does miss some time, hey, you have an IR spot. Go pick somebody else up when he's ruled out.
Sure.
I feel very comfortable with him. RJ Harvey actually is not getting the first team reps. I don't care about him being a fifth string on the depth chart, but it's
Sean Payton always does that.
A Denver reporter, beat writer that we follow, and he is very intel with Denver and what they do. And he said right now, especially early out the gate, it'll be a 70-30 split favoring J.K. Dobbins. And so with that said, I think he's a great buy low middle season trade candidate.
Okay.
But if you want him for a full season, it makes me a little nervous. But at the same time, he's still RB24. That's fringe RB2, RB3.
Yeah.
So is what it is. It's just kind of one of those things where he's going right at or above Travion Henderson sometimes. Caleb Johnson, who's been looking really good at camp. So I think he's my least favorite of the rookies in that range. But at the end of the day, it's fine. James Conner and David Montgomery are the same thing to me. They're just very safe options. I think their upside's capped.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then you have, of course, Aaron Jones and Brian Thomas. I think that is a similar. I mean, Brian Robinson. Yeah, I think it's a similar situation.
Oh yeah,
where it's just upside is capped on those two.
And on top of that, I think in addition to the upside being capped, I think they are fringe of dropping tiers or failing you, because there could be other guys that could be better than them behind them. I mean, Jordan Mason, it is very puzzling and telling how high his rushing prop is compared to Aaron Jones. It is almost identical. And they traded for him, draft capital for him to come in. And then Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt is one of the biggest, hottest preseason risers. And Austin Eckler's there. So Brian Robinson's never been a 1,000-yard rusher. And I think he'll have a solid 15 touch a game role. But I kind of need a little bit more of that to put you or feel more comfortable about you.
I think JCM might be a serious acquisition if he gets the touches in week 1, because I think he's better than Austin Eckler at this point in his career, unfortunately. And he was a miss on draft rankings for us, because he didn't even play last year, and it was because of eligibility issues, not because he was hurt. Right. So it makes it really hard when you get a guy that's drafted in the 7th round and you just really don't know enough about him. But he's good, and he adds to that ridiculous class. Let's go over.
This tier's gross.
Okay.
That's all I can say about it. I mean, it's a lot of guys that I just there's just no certainty whatsoever where any of these guys are going to go this season. I don't care what people say or try to buy you of Isaiah Pacheco being healthy. He's just an average running back. And I know it's his contract year, but Brashard Smith is already getting touches in reps with the ones.
Because he's good.
Elijah Mitchell, who missed all of last year, is already getting reps with the ones. And then Kareem Hunt, who he couldn't usurp last year en route to a Super Bowl, is still on the roster for the time being. So it's either committee, either way. He's going as a fringe RB2, RB3, and I just really don't have confidence that he'll keep that role the entire season.
I'm not going to touch him.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I won't even, even think about it. He's had injuries. He'll probably won't be on the team next year. Like, that's just honesty.
Yeah. To me, I think his pure role is like early on, fine as RB2, sell high. That's what my picturing of him is. And then a lot of these guys have strong, running back battles. I mean, with Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, we're really bullish on.
Sure, he's in the same tier.
Yeah, he's I even put him up because I just really feel good about, and on top of that, he's looking really good in camp. J.K. Dobbins, I just mentioned how highly he's being viewed and utilized right now. And on top of that, he was really good until his MCL injury last year. So I'm fine putting him at this tier, but at the same time, that doesn't mean I think he's just going to keep RJ Harvey as an RB2 the entire season.
Right.
Jaylen Warren is actually a starter right now.
Mm-hmm.
But again, later in the season, when I'm trying to win my league, I don't know how much he's going to take away from Caleb Johnson when Caleb Johnson's busting big gains that they haven't seen before because Najee never did that. Jordan Mason talked about him. Travis Etienne, we liked him, not at cost anymore. And on top of that, Tank Bigsby is starting to get some run as just the first guy getting carries out of the backfield, has no pass catching upside. That is where Travis Etienne has the opportunity to keep. But Bashal Tutin, it is on the board that he just takes that away, and then Travis Etienne is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Cam Scatterbu is the better running back in the Giants. He is now going to miss a couple weeks.
Yeah, he's injured.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how concerning that is. A lot of people are throwing up Tyron Tracy saying, like, I knew it all along. He's still not better than him, and I'm still not convinced that Tyron Tracy will be there at the very end of the season. But at the same time, I can't rise him right now.
Well, I don't think Tyron Tracy's bad by any means. I just think Cam Scatterbu is a bit better. So when Cam Scatterbu's out, yeah, Tyron Tracy will be a legitimate player. It's kind of like Zach Charbonnet. Well, no, it's not. Never mind. Let's take that back because I don't like Zach Charbonnet that much. But I like Tyron Tracy. It's just when they're both healthy, Cam Scatterbu will get the more productive touches and be more efficient. So
and then Ramondre, last but not
tough.
least, he's fine, and he is just, to me, just a best ball asset as RB4 or 5. That's it. That's all I view him as. I don't think he's ever going to be startable in a redraft format. You're never going to click his name unless you have 3 flexes that you got to figure out who to start. You're just never going to touch him, so he just is what it is. Tyron Tracy probably should be in this tier, but I ran out of room. So, I mean, he's kind of in the same box like we just talked about with Cam.
I think tier 5 and tier 6 are very close.
Right.
If you would have said they're all tier 5, and we'll go over tier 6 now. If you would have said they're all tier 5, I wouldn't have been mad at you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was kind of the thing is like, I think a lot of these guys, some of them have defined roles, and then some of them, as you go down, are handcuffs. Like, that is the biggest difference between the two tiers, in my opinion. But
Javonte Williams actually dropped a tier, and we just were like, hey, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, which Cowboy running back is going to be a RB3 for you? And we were like, I think Javonte can run away with it. It's not like he's had a bad camp, but he just hasn't run away with it. He's just splitting time with Miles Sanders, and Jaden Blue actually was having a good camp, but then he just rolled his ankle today. So either way, I don't have confidence in any of the Cowboys running backs, but one of them is always a possibility. Rico Dowdle, back-to-back 100-yard games in the fantasy postseason last year. So somebody is going to be fantasy relevant at some point. I just don't know when that is. And redraft, when are you going to start any of them, especially early on? Talked about Tracy.
Big name. This guy right here, Dylan Sampson.
Big riser. And on top of that, we are omitting Quinshon Judkins from this list. It's not because we don't view him as a top 50 asset. It's just there's too much uncertainty. He hasn't practiced. He got denied an expedited review of his case, and he's not even signed to a contract.
Right.
So I'm just assuming he's not going to play until they say that he plays. So I would not draft him or touch him at all anymore. I don't care how low he drops. And for the time being, Jerome Ford is the starter, but Dylan Sampson is better, and he will prove that at some point when he gets those opportunities. So we think that Cleveland's starting running back is a top 35 asset, but I just don't know who that guy is yet. But if it is just going to be Jerome Ford and Sampson, you could tell me for a certainty that it's going to be one of those two guys all season long. Both of them are warranted of top 35 status.
Sure, absolutely. The other guys I want to talk about, Trey Benson, Zach Charbonnet, because Trey Benson is a true handcuff based on what coaches have said about James Conner. Zach Charbonnet is a true handcuff. We've seen him in the past. Najee is on this list, but he has not practiced, and we don't know when he will practice. Tank Bigsby is an interesting one, so we'll get back to him. But Rashad White is just basically the same guy as Bucky Irving. If Bucky goes down, Rashad White steps in and plays his same way.
We saw him go 17 points a game as a rookie. So fantasy asset.
Sure.
He's not very good running back, but fantasy asset, especially PPR leagues, perfectly fine as a flex option.
But Tank Bigsby apparently is the starting running back for the rushing touches, while Travis Etienne is the pass catching back. Tank Bigsby will be climbing up boards. We have him at the 43. Maybe that's a little low. Maybe we didn't project it basically. But at the same time, that's a really muddy backfield, so we just didn't want to push him too high.
And again, this is a combination of best ball and redraft. Great best ball asset because he'll have the 2 touchdown games like he did last year. He'll have a couple 100-yard games, optimistically. But week in, week out, I don't know how I can trust him as a starter because he could just go in after a 2 touchdown game, and the following game, negative game script, he has 8 carries for 10 yards
and doesn't catch balls. He doesn't catch the ball.
I think he'll cost you more than he will win you things as a redraft player.
Sure.
And that's why I don't view him as the top of this tier.
He could go off in week 1 and you spend all your FAB on him.
Yeah.
I could see that happening.
That's a bad idea.
I think it would be hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
No,
I won't do it. I won't do it. So, but let's go over to the last tier. The last tier. It's tier 7. A few guys here. Jaden Blue, who we talked about a little bit with Javonte. And then Rojo from the Bears. Ray Davis is the new kicker for the Bills. Apparently, he's the backup kicker. So that's fun. Braylon Allen, who is one of Cam's favorite guys from a couple years ago in the draft. He's only 20, I think, at this point. 21 now.
Yeah,
so
younger than most of the rookies.
Yeah, very cool.
And on top of that, he just looks scary in open field.
He's huge.
He's had so many highlights in camp. And to me, I think it is a true 50-50 split from a carry perspective. And then we'll wait and see on the pass catching perspective.
Sure, yeah.
Or maybe, Breece Hall gets traded and he's a, league winner at the 15th round cost he is.
Yeah.
And then obviously Brashard Smith is our most drafted best ball guy. I didn't expect him to already be getting some run with the ones. It is a wait and see. From a redraft perspective, he's a way deep stash. I don't even know if I draft him yet because he is so low owned. But at the same time, I just feel good about late season, PPR format and what he is capable of doing. Tyler Algier, because we kicked out Quinshawn, we had to put somebody in, and he just is what he is. He's
safe.
a 1,000-yard back if Bijan's hurt or not playing, and if he's not, he is just no catches and
going to steal some goal line work, basically.
Yeah,
every once in a while. Yeah, with Brashard Smith, he was our 12th running back on our draft board, and we knew about him early, and that's why we have so much of him. And y'all should go watch our draft stuff because you would be on it a little earlier than everybody else. Jaden Blue, though, is, like you said, having a good camp, and I don't know what to do with the nice Bears backfield.
Well, yeah, Rojo, it just sounds like he's going to be the goal line back, and he's kind of going to rival a lot of the pass catching / third down work because he's also the best pass blocker.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it sounds like he's not, if and when DeAndre Swift goes down or is out of favor, he's not going to just become the workhorse that I thought he could potentially be. It sounds like he'll get a couple more extra carries, but Kyle Monunga is at least playing well enough to where it'll still be a 1A, 1B situation.
Sure. But we appreciate y'all hanging out with us. That is going to be the end of our video. We are going to be doing the wide receivers and tight ends video, I think in the next week. So it'll be out also. And so you'll have all of our rankings, and then we're going to start doing a whole bunch of other stuff, and we'll get after it.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of stuff. Emery and Dusty are doing a great job with college football predictions. If you guys want to check that out, they still have one more to go, but then their 2026 way too early mock has been doing really well for us. So we finally hit 270 because of them, which is awesome. I need to pick up the slack on my end. But yeah, we're also going to be doing a lot more NFL predictions now. We're going to start kind of cranking that down. We got less than a month officially till the season starts. Very excited for it. There's preseason going on as this video is being recorded. But also we're going to be best balling, live streaming best ball once a week. And
until the season starts.
Until the season starts.
Absolutely. So we appreciate it, and we will see y'all on the next one.